Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. From Serbia to Georgia, protests have been shaking the political landscape in Eastern Europe. In Serbia, demonstrators accuse the government of corruption and negligence after a deadly railway station collapse, while opposition groups claim broader democratic backsliding. Meanwhile, in Georgia, protests against the ruling party have escalated amid allegations of election fraud and police brutality. What do these movements reveal about democracy and governance in the region? Joining us today on TVP World to explore these unfolding events is Mariya Heletiy, former OSCE officer during the Balkan Wars. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning.
So let's start with the situation in Serbia. How significant is the public anger over the Novi Sad railways disaster, and in a broader context, what does that show about the dissatisfaction with Aleksandar Vučić?
Basically, it is dissatisfaction of everything what's happening in the country. Unfortunately, the government or even political forces, political parties like opposition, they could not provide something different from Vučić. In Serbia in 2024, there were elections and parliamentary elections. And basically the political party, which were fighting for these seats in the parliament, they were very similar to the leading party. I mean, party which is led by Vučić, or Vučić party, I would say. And actually, it didn't give the voters choice. Therefore, Vučić or Vučić party, Vučić is the most known, the most famous politician in Serbia. Actually, they got the majority in the parliament, and therefore, citizens still unhappy with what's happening in the country. They're still unhappy with the rule of law. They're still unhappy with corruption, but they could not impact it. And protest is a kind of it's a sign of this unhappiness. It's a sign that people would like changes, but they don't have what to select from.
Right, so this is a very tricky situation. Like you mentioned, there doesn't seem to be a viable alternative, or the opposition party just isn't strong enough. Do you think that these protests will have a significant effect, or will it even have enough momentum to change Vučić's strong grip on power?
I don't believe, because what I see at least from what is Vučić's plan, first he planned resignation of the Prime Minister. And it will lead either to forming a new cabinet, or it will lead to the new elections, early elections. But early elections doesn't mean that there will be significant change. Okay, I expect that maybe the party of Vučić will get less votes. It will be less than 50. Currently, it's about 48% Vučić support. I expect that party will have something like that. But it will not change significantly the situation in Balkans, in Serbia.
Right, like you mentioned, Vučić actually does enjoy majority in the parliament, and even if with a dip due to these protests, we're still looking at a kind of significant number compared to any other viable position. So do you think that these protests we're seeing are also more of indicative of people who are dissatisfied, but perhaps there is still a very silent majority that supports Vučić, or do you think that's mostly due to the lack of actual choices?
I think there is the majority supporting Vučić, because Vučić was in the power, I think, for ages, forever. He is very famous. A lot of people support his idea. Plus, opposition, when we compare what opposition was saying during parliamentary elections, it was very similar to the ruling party. Actually, they don't have clear understanding of Kosovo status. They don't know what to do, and they have disagreements. Some supports independence, some not. Another issue is sanctions against Russia. They don't have a clear vision what to do with it, and it means that in general population also did not see in them potential power. Plus, Vučić showed that he can keep control over the country. Plus, he can support country and provide economic development. Serbia is doing great economically. And it means that currently for citizens to change Vučić is a problem, but the situation is like deteriorating every day. We see, if you compare the situation with protests last year, they were less long and less crowded. Now it's more. Now also except students, we have farmers. Whether it will grow, whether Vučić will do something and change this tension, it depends on him. But he's a very experienced politician. I'm sure he will do everything possible to keep himself on the position, and then just to, for example, change government, change parliament, or a little bit make some changes to show that he's trying to be more democratic, and he has already promised some pardon to the those activists who were engaged in the rally, and also he tries to make some changes. Of course, these changes are very like picture changes. It's not changes real one.
Right. Now, there's a kind of an interesting phenomenon that we're observing here on TVP World that I would like to pick your brains a little bit about, because ever since we started covering these protests, like you mentioned, the situation is deteriorating and these protests are gaining traction. However, there seems to be a lack of coverage when it comes to international media, and a lot of our viewers are actually saying, well, thanking us for actually bringing light to the situation. Is there a particular reason for the reluctance to cover this region, or is it perhaps just an oversight?
I believe that in current days, many conflicts, many protests are covered because like you can't hide anything. But yes, in Serbia we have very positive situation from the side of European partners. European Commission and European Union considers Serbia as a big partner for EU, and they believe that Vučić can keep control on the situation in Serbia. Plus, Vučić is very good in terms of concluding agreements. The last agreement with the European Union with Germany about lithium. It is a very important material for production of electromobile batteries. What is in current days is really important because it will be a replacement for the Chinese production. Another thing, he is also trying to support European Union with migrants, and actually he had agreement with European Union about Frontex. Frontex actually monitors the border of Serbia. Therefore, it is like he's still considered as a partner for European Union despite all these issues, and therefore he is not a threat. Like he's not anti-democratic leader. And Serbia, even during the last discussions on EU summit, it was considered as making progress for the EU integration.
Right. And now I would also like to turn our attention to Georgia, because we are seeing yet another protest. Of course, these has been ongoing for a while, especially kind of very intense after their EU aspiration seems to be snubbed. What's the situation right now? What are the main drivers behind these ongoing protests that's still kind of very, very, well, massive, so to speak?
In Georgia, we have a different situation. If in Serbia, the main problem is like that corruption led to the construction not very good quality roof, and which actually collapsed and killed 15 people. In Georgia, it is about real democracy. It is about real shift to Russia, and the government and also the parliament, the majority in parliament, Georgian Dream, were elected with a significant fraud, and a lot of observers mentioned about it. People actually protesting against this election. They would like to change. They would like re-elections. And first important thing, they don't believe that the Georgian Dream received such numbers. Another point, it is the shift of the country. After the election, Georgian Dream announced that they would like to pause relationship with the EU. For many Georgians, it is something what they dream about, and they want to have their country moving toward the European Union. Therefore, it is not about even rule of law. It's not about economy. Yes, it is about, but it's more about democracy and country movement. Whether they are moving to the European Union or to Russia, people don't want to be a part of Russia. People don't want to be to close with Russia because they have own story, own war with Russia and losing the territories. They also see what's happening in Ukraine, and they see this large-scale invasion, and they terrified. They see themselves as a part of the European Union, And therefore, they do not even recognize the new president, which replaced Salome Zurabishvili. And actually, even Salome Zurabishvili, she believes that she says that she should continue their function, regardless, the new president is elected.
All right, and like you mentioned, these grievances, a lot of it is even more substantial and gaining a lot of traction. So do you think in this case, these protests will bring any substantial change, especially seeing that the Western allies, European Union, even the United States are more keen on helping them alleviate the situation?
Unfortunately, I don't think that currently Georgians have chance to somehow change situation. The situation difficult because for Georgian politicians which are under sanctions, it did not have effect. They still continue to do the same. They might seek additional support from Russia, and you see in this world where we can already see that countries somehow are divided. Some are very clearly pro-Western, but some are either clearly pro-Russian or they are like allies of Russia. And it's a situation that potentially Georgian politicians will not see any negative impact of the sanctions against them, and they might improve collaboration with Russians. And at the end, Georgian people will lose because actually the country will not move back to the European Union, but still it will be more heavily linked to Russia. And actually, Russia, China, this block of countries. And it will only deepen the line between West and Georgia.
Right, so perhaps this attempt at internationally isolating these Georgian politicians could actually backfire and drive them into the arms of Russia. Is there any way to kind of reverse that step? Is there any possibility for the European Union to take the Western world to take a different approach to bring them back into the fold?
I think we have to look at the picture, very general picture. Everything now we have started in Ukraine. West should show support to Ukraine and actually help Ukraine to beat the enemy. If West shows Western countries, other countries like Georgia, or countries even which are now are allies of Russia, that first, it supports in difficult situations and supports significantly. Second, that it's possible to compete or beat the enemy. It's possible to receive some justice. Then it will have impact on such countries. Because for Georgia, I think they are they're deciding between the biggest and the smallest enemy, because they don't know if they go to West, maybe Russia would attack them again and completely, occupy. Right. I don't know, but I'm sure such fears definitely present, except economic or some other political interests. And therefore, if you don't resolve one issue, you show that other countries that you don't need to fight for your European or Western future, because if you do this, you will have difficulties with your other neighbor, Russia, and nobody will help you. Therefore, you first need to solve issues which are now more burning, and then you will just show that it's possible to cut links with Russia and live normal life and free life.
All right, thank you so much for helping us unpack this very complicated and intricate issue. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us on TVP World. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.